A little bit about my organization, Emerging Technologies, kind of an odd name, but essentially we're a headlights group in IBM. We're not a product group. And I have two parts of my organization. We're a small group that is technology focused. We look at new technology, especially open source. We've been participating for years in different projects, but also a services piece. After we listen to customers, understand what their future business problems are, how do we look across what's going on in open source, other types of innovation, and decide what might be cookie dough, might be available that we can start engaging customers to understand better where they're going and the technology's value from a business standpoint on it. Many times that leads us down many paths we didn't expect. And not being a product team, that's a good thing. Our socialization of that, both internally and externally, is something we do on a regular basis. If you want to look more, there's IBM JStart page. We're very big on publishing. If we get references that we do in our POCs with customers, we like to publish that. We think about it as educational. How do you learn about how these technologies can help your business or appeal to different projects that you're doing? So Mike and Quentin talked about where we're going, kind of the big data market. And if you look at over IDC, they can say that big data is growing very fast, 6x times the overall IT spend. And we're still early on in this. You look at where the technology's been going, how data centers, IT's been working at things. We're kind of at the middle stage of this, looking at how, as Quentin talked about, where analytics is going to go from a line of business perspective. My team spends a lot of time with business people now. They need to move at a different pace than what IT does. They have different ideas about driving their business, and they want personal attention to do that and personal software to do those types of things. Where we're really trying to go, I think, is the kind of citizen analysts. How do you look at big data? How do you look at Hadoop and Spark and technologies and be able to look at how you can make decisions much, much faster than we do today? Really driven by insights that businesses have and be able to then turn that into actions. So what that does, though, and for this audience, a lot of folks in it, it creates lots of opportunities. Data scientists, data engineers, if you look across the board, the numbers are huge in terms of what businesses need today. Analytics is not easy for many people, and it's getting easier as we innovate all the time. But still, there's so much new workload, so many new applications that customers want to be able to write for their business. It's going to be a very wonderful career path for many folks in this audience. Here's the thing we hear from businesses, though. Just-in-time analytics is really kind of a cornerstone as they see things going forward. Many times when we work with a customer, we hear about the business problem, we kind of look at the technology that might be useful to do that, and then we start to do a POC with them. Many cases what happens, the customer says, that was great that you gave me an answer on Hadoop in 20 minutes. Can you do that in 20 seconds? And then we start asking much more in-depth questions about what changed. And what we've learned about this is many times as businesses do new projects, they're not quite sure how it fits in their business processes. And all that is very flexible to them going forward on this. So they look at the internet and they think about the pace that they need to change on a regular basis. This is being transformative in most businesses today. They're also not thinking of applications in the sense we've had in the past, where you deploy them and you can update them. Sometimes the questions they're asking are open-ended. It's a journey for them. When they find insights, what path does that take them down at that point? And how do they iterate on that with data scientists, solution developers, and others? And the good news about it, a little bit as Mike and Quentin talked about, the economics are changing. Now we can do those types of things. We're seeing technologies come out to address those much, much faster. So we're seeing this idea of time to value moving much quicker. Challenges over the next 5 years, and we heard a little bit again from Mike and Quentin, machine learning is the hot ticket. There's lots of different areas that are happening in machine learning today, and it's not just in terms of a global context. Machine learning is very contextual. It has to be done for domains, for businesses, and for organizations, tailored very specifically. So I think just like we thought about font technology, how many fonts do we really need? and then the world exploded. I think machine learning, algorithms, the type of things that people are going to do, we're going to see lots and lots of new libraries, new ways that people can customize them very quickly moving forward on this. All that is good if I can create a great experience for my customers. The iPhone, the way that mobiles come along, it's extremely important not just to have machine learning, but how do I take that and transform that into a solution that can be useful to a business person on a mobile device at a particular point in time? And how do I create that experience for them? They're not in the business of watching their iPhone every minute to see how they're doing on these things. And especially if you look at what's been happening in the United States, Target, over the Cyber Monday, their website had much too much of a workload for them to keep up. I'm betting that most of the analytics folks at Target are going back over their data now to figure out what did they miss, what things were important to them that helped them transform their business to be much more reliable going forward on this. This is a chart I found on one of the website's blogs about how much machine learning is changing everything. You look at the picture on the right-hand side, these are startups in different industries that are using machine learning to go after new business opportunities. So a core to us going forward, I think, is how machine learning can be made very approachable, very usable, very fast to see business results from customers on this. This goes back a little bit to what I was talking about, the rule of thirds, that as a domain expert, a data scientist, it's not going to be good enough just to know about the data. You're going to have to know about the industry and the different aspects of it, Target from a retail standpoint. Then it's within your business unit, thinking about how you tailor that machine learning for your business unit, and finally down to your organization. So you can imagine how this is going to transform over time as we go look at new applications for line of business. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Everything is contextual and everything is customizable. Mike and Quentin talked about Apache Spark. We think it's a big bet, and we think Spark's going to go everywhere. We think about it not only as a technology from an analytics standpoint, but we like the fact it's got a unified programming model. What does that really mean? And as I mentioned starting out, many times we've had to go in, start with a customer, think about the technology after we hear about the problem. Then, here later, the customer said, well, instead of 20 minutes, I need this in 20 seconds. I have to start over. I have to think about streaming technology or other things. Spark is a way to help solution developers. It really looks at the way I could do batch, interactive, streaming, graph, without changing programming models. That, to me, is important because now I can think about building solutions faster all the time on this. So an important aspect from an emerging technology group, with Spark behind me, I start to talk about the business problems and I don't have to focus as much on the technology. I think about how I can listen better, look where I'm going to go forward with the customer, then I can think about what parts of Spark I'll be able to use and what data we need to do that with. We also think about Spark from an integration technology. From our standpoint, Spark's going to be everywhere, and part of the demo that we're going to do in our breakout session is Spark on Z. So think about the fact that when you start to have a platform that's consistent for your analytics, now you can move those analytics to the data wherever the data is at that point. Another big boon for solution developers. Last part is, as I said, building these types of journeys with customers. Notebooks, iPi notebooks are going to be extremely important and a cornerstone as people move forward for applications in the future on this. We think Spark and notebooks are going to be very popular for being able to build these type of discovery applications. So last thing on this is what I'll call the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Mike started to talk about it in terms of how the evolution of Hadoop and technologies have come along, how these things are integrating together, and then other technologies like notebooks are being able to address it from the solution developer standpoint. That's the key value. When I can translate it into a business solution quickly for my customer, we're happy at that. And so with that, I'll leave it, and thank you very much for listening today.